The Spring Creek fire is now burning on several fronts. It is almost 80,000 acres. This is an update for July 3rd, 2018, and I am reading from Southern Colorado Crime and Safety Alerts. This is the very latest. They're using the hashtag North Spring Fire, so there's information on the two different fronts. On social media, you can look at the 416 fire. You can look at the growth of the Weston fire, which has shut down 285. That is near Park County. And you can learn about the other fires. It's actually quite difficult to keep up to date with all of the things that are happening. The North Spring Fire, which is the portion of the Spring Fire north of Highway 160, was very active on the northeast side yesterday. Significant fire behavior was seen in the Silver Mountain area, and the fire continued to grow overnight. The Spring Fire expanded to nearly 80,000 acres. Fire activity is expected to remain high as fire managers utilize a variety of techniques and resources where the highest chances of success exist. Safety of the public and firefighters remain the top priority for the incident management team. If you haven't heard already, you're hearing it now. This is in the top 5 of all-time wildfires for the state of Colorado. But that's not just the Spring Fire. I believe it's also the top 5, the 416 fire, which is to the west, western Colorado, north of Durango, Colorado. So there are separate fires. I've never known Colorado to have this many fires at the same time. It's seen its fair share of fires. It's seen its droughts like 2002. There's also a San Juan forest fire in 2013. But what we're seeing right now is unprecedented. Last night, the news came out regarding what homes were destroyed in Costilla County and the neighboring county. And a list was provided in San Luis, Colorado at 6 o'clock last night. So last night was especially difficult for people getting the news, the verdict, if you will, whether their home was still standing or not. I believe one person actually left a comment on my YouTube channel regarding what they've seen, and I'm going to work on bringing that up at the moment and read what they had to say as I go into this report from KOAA.com. Okay, so 104 homes have been lost as the Spring Fire has grown to, well, it was 60,000 acres at the moment of writing this article. That was just 2 days, and now it's almost up to 80,000. So we're seeing a jump of 10,000 to 15,000 acres per day. Heavy winds. And I mentioned before, the winds are far more intense over in the area of the Spring Fire than they are in western Colorado. It's windy in the area around the western half, but it's windier, far windier around Costilla County in the San Luis Valley. So when something catches in those particular circumstances, it's going to continue to grow exponentially as long as there's wood to burn, unless we see rain. There are people praying for rain. There was someone suggesting that people think more about rain than the fires, and a rain cloud did appear and did rain for a little bit, but not over the actual fire itself. Now, whether or not that was chance, coincidence, we really don't know. But what we can see throughout history is a very strong belief amongst the humans that prayer for rain has an impact. There are talks of rain dances and Native American practices. And these are things that are definitely far removed from the average person. Although they may know the term do a rain dance. They may know how to upload a meme of someone doing a rain dance. But what does it really mean on a deeper level? And I think that mankind connecting with nature on a consciousness level is something that we may do consciously, unconsciously, but people aren't very conscious of it. Now, on that note, we see an increase in fighting. I'm just going to mention this briefly, but you can see the Portland riot on my YouTube channel. Portland is seeing more violence than it normally sees at these protests. There's also a suicide in Bayfield, Colorado. And that is somewhere in between the two fires. Just a little bit of a coincidence, wouldn't you say, that a teenager killed herself right in between the fire zones. There was someone else that was offering their mental health, as a psychologist, their mental health services for people that may be struggling with feelings of suicide or depression after receiving the news about their home being demolished. Let me go over here where we have the comment. On this particular video. So this is going to be a really big week ahead with the spread of the closures. Going to the comment now from Alan. Alan, thank you for leaving the comment. He writes, I am so sorry for all of you that are suffering with these fires and everything that is happening because of them. I lived on the Forbes Ranch just east of Fort Garland and had 11 acres with a house and a large building. I loved it and we lived there for about 5 years, but had to sell and move back to Denver in the end of 2013 for health, financial, and family reasons, and I miss it. It looks like the fire started about a couple of miles southeast of the land that we had, and I always worried about a fire starting in the sage and pinyon trees. I know what you're talking about when you say the Highway 160 and 285 is very important for roads for truckers, supplying the area with the needed food and supplies, and for people to get there and leave that area. My wife still has several relatives that live on the ranch, and her family is from San Luis and that area for over centuries. I'm praying for all of you down there, and I know what you mean about sensing things that are all changing and not good for everyone in Colorado and the other states and countries. I'm about 66 years old, and I've lived in Denver all my life, minus the time I was in the San Luis Valley, and my parents were natives, and I can't believe that things have changed to the worse so quickly, and life in the United States is never going to be the same as we had it when we were young, and we had so much national pride. So this comment's going a little deeper into the thought without getting so literal, but it's definitely painting the picture in the mind's eye. Continuing, it's not too late, and it can be great again, but there has to be great change in how people think and act. I think the generation coming up who are protesting for socialism has everything confused and wrong and has no idea what it means to be free and to live in a society and to give your life to keep it. May God bless and protect all of you down there and all the people across this once free and great country. I hate to say it, but it's all slipping away from us, and the New World Order is happy and going to get what they want eventually, maybe sooner than later. Now that is a good comment. And we have been divided by politics, and as a result of that, I would say that we are less prepared to deal with these particular emergencies. I'm in a major fire risk area that if it was to start burning immediately, I would have to evacuate, and I would let you guys know what I'm doing along the way. I am planning, by the way, to visit the Denver area coming up after the 11th of July. Unfortunately, I got a ticket for no insurance due to my own economic challenges, but I think that it would be great to bounce around the Denver area, even Boulder area. It's all pretty much in that same zone. I'm a little allergic to a high population, but granted, if I was to develop enough contacts up there, a friend of mine is actually moving to Colorado, which is very, very good news. So I will actually have somebody to visit once in a while in the big city. And I'd like to do more things in Denver. I understand how other people are feeling. I have a very negative view of what's happened to Portland, Oregon. On some levels, though, there are some positive things. In some of these cities, I would like to do more with my life other than live full-time off the grid. But it's like cycle on, cycle off. And part of the challenges that comes with living off the grid is facing these natural disasters head on. I'm not super religious, but I do have faith in something greater than myself. And I have turned it over. Why? Because I had to turn over to even find my way to where I am now and experience I give it to God. I give credit to God that I've even been safe here for 2 years. Recently celebrating the 2-year anniversary of being on the same, and sometimes I'm embarrassed that I'm poor and I can't be like up to code like others, and I would like to like fix things on the land and at some point, right, be receiving more support from the total collective sum of the audience members. I really want to thank those of you that have supported. I want to thank people like Jared and others. I want to thank you for your faith in me. And so this is not a difficult time to report on a disaster that's so close to home. It's so close to home. I'm grateful to have what I have. People have lost their only homes at this point. It sounds like Alan relocated. I heard from others in the comment sections and other places. I could see how it'd be a little bit difficult to talk in the comment section if you just lost your home. But there are some people that, for whatever reason, they sold their home before all this happened. For whatever reason, some people had sold their home for whatever reason that they had. Maybe it was meant to happen. We don't know necessarily why things happen the way that they do. I've talked for years about this Chinese parable, good luck, bad luck. If you're suffering from a disaster, but you can also see how things can be looked at from a number of perspectives, Google on the sidebar, Chinese parable, good luck, bad luck. Or also watch a previous video of mine where I'm describing good luck, bad luck. Sometimes just think about it this way. I tried to live in Costilla County years ago. And because of their codes and regulations, it was not possible. Had I lived in Costilla County and was living in Forbes Park, in one of the nicest areas that you can live in, and if I was given the option to live in Costilla County, or Forbes Park rather, years ago, I would have taken it. I'm over here right now. I can see more smoke in the skies than yesterday, and I know that's possible that it can happen here too. But I'm not going to lose faith in something greater than myself if it does. I'm certainly not going to curse the Creator. We are humans that are sharing this planet with other forms of life. That includes the trees. And while I'm not an expert on it, there are cycles of nature, and whether we like it or not, we happen to be sharing a planet with trees that have a cycle of burning. It's a cycle that some people say nature is reliant on. Believe it or not, as crazy as that seems, right? But ash is clearly a part of a breakdown in like a compost system or other things, is a part of that process of helping things break down. And so while we as human beings might be affected in losing our homes, before we completely lose it, and some people could feel on the edge, it's also important for them to realize that we are a part of nature, that we're living alongside nature. And these are the realities that come with living alongside nature. And I accept that, whatever happens. If it came down to it and I was in an emergency situation from the current location where I'm at, unless I was evacuating the days prior, like ahead of time, like right when there's like warning that something's up, it could be a situation where I have to hitchhike wouldn't be the right term, but grab and go, grab a backpack and go by foot, not by car, by foot. And I've already taken the time. I for whatever reason was already looking at a particular area as an escape route by foot from where I currently am sitting to you now in a 10 by 12 shed on 1 acre where I am now. And I would escape by foot. And I would take my chances from there. The only thing that keeps me personally going is, and there's other fears and concerns that I've had to deal with and contend with, not just being off the grid, but being alive today, saying some of the things that I've been saying on YouTube and information that I've been sharing on the internet in the day and age where some journalists are targeted. I don't consider myself to be the average off-gridder, not when you're sharing outside the box content like this. That's a whole other level. That's a whole other league. And yet, despite the dangers, despite the risks, People say, don't go it all alone, you won't survive. And it's like, here we are now in the second year at the same spot, but not my first rodeo. Now multiple years traveling in different places and settling the last few years in Colorado and facing this ultimate test of our nerves. And I think this too will pass. Now we'll see where things end up from here on out. But I don't think that this subdivision is going to burn this year. I don't think that the fires of nature are necessarily demanding that the entire state burn down. And I think that every time we go through a natural disaster, natural, unnatural, I think it's disrespectful to those victims of the natural disaster to make everything a conspiracy, that the government's using ray guns to destroy our homes, that climate change doesn't exist, when the sun clearly, see, they're defensive about the carbon tax and all that, and the new world order aspect of what they call climate change. But a lot of people rather look at the flat earth theories than the fact of the sun. Certain cycles literally create certain weather patterns on the planet that science only seems to be beginning to look at, yet they've been looking at it for some time. They rather distract us, however, and say that human activity is really behind all of this. And really, a lot of people are not doing that right now, even though it has been a drier year. The idea of climate change is just, it's not something that people think about in relation to the sun, whether they're on one side of the fence or the other. There are people out there in our society that says there is no changes to the climate, not even caused by the sun, that all of it is a conspiracy, that all of it is a ray gun weapon straight out of G.I. Joe. And when you're at that level of cognitive dissonance, where everything is artificial and nothing is real and there is no sun, ooh, that's concerning. When we start to mirror like an idiocracy society, that's concerning. I've been studying the social media comment sections all over Facebook full time as a hobby because I have nothing better to do. And I'm watching people on social media ask each other questions about the fire that they can Google themselves. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there are things that people could find themselves. There are like typical, oh my God, are we under evacuation? And they're like a town like 20 miles away. And they're not even like paying close attention, as close as they are, to the real-time up-to-dates of the actual fire line. They're just using social media like, oh, do I have to worry yet? I'm like 25 miles away. I'm like at the mall and stuff. And it's like, whoa, dude, just whoa. So I'm going to close things up here, folks. By the way, we'll have to come back and talk about the bears in another video. But somebody caught some amazing photographs of some bears going at it. And so we have bears going at it. We have people in Portland, Oregon going at it. We have we have a 3-year-old refugee child from another country that was murdered at the age of 3. She was stabbed. The news is yesterday that she just died. Notice there'll be more anger regarding certain things than a refugee child at 3 years old being killed at her birthday party. Notice those people that will not once mention that that just happened in our nation as they get ready to celebrate their independence without fireworks, of course. Maybe footage of football, men slamming into each other and having some GMO hot dogs. Yeah, that's a great way to celebrate our independence as we approach $22 trillion. But hey, just blame it on your political opposition. Everything will be fine. I'm Alex Ansary with the Spring Fire update. Now, they're also calling it the North Spring Fire, as it's moved into multiple ranges. Signing off here from somewhere out there in southwest Colorado.